Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Rocket Tranquility, we copy you on the ground.
New possibilities are opening up for scientific cooperation between countries.
1-0. Liftoff. Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Discovery, go and throttle up.
Discovery, roger. Go for deploy.
Everybody in the shuttle program, the crew is go for launch.
Roger. Nice to be in orbit.
We have followed in their footsteps to get us where we are today.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Kennedy Space Center. It's another great day at America's premier multi-user spaceport as we get ready to make history once again. With the successful test flight of the Crew Dragon on the Falcon 9 that safely delivered Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley to the International Space Station and brought them home safely, it set the stage for the Crew 1 mission tomorrow afternoon. This is the first flight under contract, the crew rotation mission with SpaceX to the International Space Station. This is truly a new era of human spaceflight, and I couldn't be more pleased with what the NASA and SpaceX team has accomplished. It's truly an exciting time. It's great that we're flying crews on a regular cadence once again from here at the Kennedy Space Center to space on U.S. rockets. It's also great that we're doing it with our international partners, and we've got Soichi Noguchi from Japan on board. I couldn't be more pleased with what this team has accomplished, and I'm truly proud and humbled to be a part of it. It's my pleasure now to introduce our NASA Administrator, Jim Bridenstine. Through his outstanding leadership and advocacy for the commercialization of low Earth orbit, the commercial crew program, and the transformation of the Kennedy Space Center to a multi-user spaceport have become reality. Please welcome a great American to the stand, our Administrator, Jim Bridenstine.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Bob, for that introduction, and thank you for your amazing leadership here at the Kennedy Space Center, which has become now a truly multi-user spaceport, and we're looking forward to so many great things happening right here at Kennedy in the years ahead. But yes, this is another historic moment. It seems like every time I come to Kennedy, we're making history, and this is no different. The history being made this time is we're launching what we call an operational flight to the International Space Station. Make no mistake, vigilance is always required on every flight. But as Bob said, this is under contract. And another first for NASA is that this flight is certified by the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration. We have Steve Dixon here, and I'll be introducing him here in a few minutes, the administrator of the FAA. But the whole goal here is to commercialize our activities in low Earth orbit. NASA wants to be one customer of many customers in a very robust commercial marketplace for human spaceflight in low Earth orbit. But we don't just want to be one of many customers, we also want to have numerous providers that are competing against each other on cost, on innovation, and on safety, ultimately bringing more access to space than ever before. We, of course, have had success with commercial resupply of the International Space Station, where we're buying services to get our equipment and hardware and experiments to the ISS. Now we are having success with commercial crew. And of course, tomorrow's flight is the next major milestone in this development. And of course, the next big phase is commercial space stations themselves, where we have private capital and NASA as a customer as well, ultimately capitalizing, funding, and moving forward for this new era in human spaceflight, where again, NASA is just one of many customers and numerous providers are competing on cost and innovation. The ultimate goal is to have more resources to do things for which there is not yet a commercial marketplace, like go to the moon and on to Mars under the Artemis program and the Moon to Mars program. That's ultimately what we're trying to achieve here. And because of what's happening today, all of these things are going to be possible in the future. So this is a very exciting time for NASA, and these are, again, historic firsts. So today's tomorrow's launch is licensed by the Federal Aviation Administration. Steve Dixon has become a good friend of mine. He is the administrator of the FAA, and of course, he's a graduate of the Air Force Academy, an F-15 pilot by trade, who went to work for Delta, flew the line at Delta for 9 years. By the way, he got a law degree in the midst of all this. And then, of course, he went into management at Delta as the Senior Vice President of Flight Operations before taking the helm of the Federal Aviation Administration. So please welcome Steve Dixon to the microphone.
Thanks, Jim, and it's really a pleasure. Appreciate your hospitality today at Kennedy Space Center along with Bob. It's an honor for the FAA to partner with NASA and SpaceX on the first operational Crew Dragon launch. You know, this is what happens when you add a drop or two of rocket fuel to ingenuity. There's tremendous opportunity. We've all dedicated countless hours to making sure this launch is both safe and successful. The FAA's job in this mission and in commercial space generally is to protect public safety, property, and national security. And we have the right skills and the right workforce and the right team to get this done. We've actually been doing it for many years, but this is our first manned or orbital space flight. So we're really excited and really privileged to be able to participate here today. In calendar year 2020, the FAA has licensed 31 space operations thus far. In fact, we set a record in the month of October with 6 in 1 month. And we expect to license 56 more space operations, so just about one a week in 2021. So really an exciting time in aerospace in the United States. In and of themselves, these numbers are very impressive, but they really are just the tip of the iceberg about what's to come. Once space tourism turns the corner, we think we'll see likely topping 100 operations a year. So we are prepared for that. These operations are going to be a huge part of the new space economy, which some estimates say could be worth $1 trillion by the year 2040. And it's my job, under the leadership of Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao, to make sure that the U.S. is a doorway, not a barrier, to this innovation. We recently finalized the Streamlined Launch and Recovery Licensing Requirements Rule. The new rule will allow space launch operators to use a single license for multiple launches from multiple launch sites. It strips out very prescriptive requirements and injects flexible performance-based criteria. We told this industry we'd be right out there on the launch pad with them, and we've kept that promise here today. As we've cut red tape, we're also helping to establish our nation's space transportation infrastructure. To date, we've licensed 12 spaceports with several potential sites in the pre-application phase for consideration. And we've established an FAA Office of Spaceports that will help us determine what services, rules, and regulation will be needed to support spaceports. And along with this, a whole suite of game-changing technologies and procedures to safely integrate space operations into the National Airspace System. By the start of next year, we plan to deploy a prototype of the Space Data Integrator, or SDI as we call it, that will feed real-time telemetry data from the space vehicle into the FAA's traffic flow management system so that we can manage air traffic much more surgically than we've been able to do historically. With SDI, we'll be able to block off less airspace for a space operation and release that airspace more quickly so it's available for other airspace users. And to complement SDI, we're already using time-based air traffic procedures to help us better manage the flow of aircraft around a space launch or reentry. This is also, I think, an inspiring time for young people as well. We want young people to know what the opportunities are in aerospace and space in particular that can come from a career, and we're working to reach kids of all ages. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be watching tomorrow's launch with a group of kids from Tulsa, Oklahoma, who really have the dream of going to space that's within their reach in ways that it never was for my generation. So I'll just leave you with this. Tomorrow's Crew Dragon launch is a great example of American ingenuity, but it's also a tremendous example of global leadership and partnership. But there are even bigger and better days to come. America is watching, and the entire world is too. They want to see this industry continue to do great things. And from what I've seen, this industry is stepping up to the task. And to that point, it's my privilege now to introduce Hiroshi Sasaki-san, who is the Vice President of JAXA. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve, for introducing me. I'm Hiroshi Sasaki, Vice President of JAXA. On behalf of all JAXA, I'd like to express my appreciation to the NASA and SpaceX staff for the Crew 1 launch operations. It is a great pleasure for me for this exciting missions. And Soichi Noguchi, Japanese astronaut, is well prepared for the launch. And Japanese experimental module Kibo of ISS is also ready and waiting for the crew arrival. This mission is a symbol. I think that this mission is symbol of the Japan and the U.S. partnership, and we want to go together to the ISS and Moon. I'm looking forward to the launch tomorrow, and I wish you a successful launch. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Sanita Williams, NASA astronaut, and very famous even in Japan.
Thank you, Sasaki-san. It's so great to be here in Florida. I'm so excited to see our friends launch tomorrow. Mike, Victor, Shannon, and Soichi. It's just going to be awesome to see them get to the International Space Station and be up there working for the next 6 months. You know, the Commercial Crew Program with Boeing and SpaceX has just been spectacular. Watching the innovation from both companies has been amazing. I'm specifically looking forward to seeing them live up there because our crew, my crew, is going to be the complimentary crew on this Boeing Starliner probably at the end of next year. So this is an exciting time for all of us, watching them pave the way so that we can do low Earth orbit with Commercial Crew, and then we can move on to the next big steps. With that, I'm going to introduce one of the newest astronauts in the newest class of astronauts, Johnny Kim, who is going to be leading that exploration charge. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Johnny Kim, and I'm honored and privileged to be here. It's crazy to be thinking about what we're going to be doing tomorrow. It's hard to imagine how far we've come. The first certified flight of a commercial vehicle, launching 3 American astronauts and an international partner to the space station. We're here because of the thousands of people who work behind the scenes. We truly stand on the shoulders of giants, from former astronauts to our administrator and our international partners. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everyone. You've heard of all the benefits that Commercial Crew Program is bringing to the American people, to humanity. But what I'm most excited about is being able to see 4 of my friends launch on that rocket tomorrow. They're brothers, sisters, parents, children, but they're all humans, and they represent us and everything that we stand for humanity. And the successes of the Commercial Crew Program and the ISS, which has been habited for 20 years, has set the stage for future space exploration as we go deeper into space, as we return to the moon and beyond. So I am greatly privileged and honored to be here, and looking forward to tomorrow.
Well, now, thank you. We'll start taking questions from reporters. Please, 1 question for reporter. And our focus is on Crew 1. Any question other than Crew 1, we'll be happy to take it after this press conference. Our first question.
Hello, Marcia Dunn, Associated Press for Mr. Bridenstine. Elon Musk has been tweeting this morning that he's not feeling so good, and some of his COVID tests have come positive, some are negative. What's he telling you personally, and are you going to allow him to be in launch control or crew quarters even if his next test comes back positive? I mean, negative.
Sure, sure. So I talked to Elon 2 days ago before this news came to be. I'll tell you, when somebody tests positive for COVID here at the Kennedy Space Center and across NASA, it is our policy for that person to quarantine and self-isolate. So we anticipate that that will be taking place. And, you know, we're looking to SpaceX to do any contact tracing that is appropriate. And then, of course, if there are changes that need to be made, we will look at those. But it's very early right now to know if any changes are necessary at this point. We just don't know.
Hi, Lauren Gresh with The Verge. My question's for Jim. Crew 1 comes at a very transitional time for our country, and as we prepare for a new administration, I'm curious, what are your hopes for the Commercial Crew Program, the future of human spaceflight at NASA, and how do you plan to work with any successors that to ensure a good future for the program?
So when we think about the Commercial Crew Program specifically, and I've said this a lot, we are exceptionally grateful to the leadership of Charlie Bolden and his commitment going back many years, and then of course Robert Lightfoot and then the leadership that I've had. So this is a program that has spanned multiple administrations, and I have always said, and I will continue to advocate for NASA creating sustainable programs. That's what we look for, and that's something that I think we are achieving with the Artemis program. We have seen now bills in the House and in the Senate receive strong bipartisan support that fund the human landing system for the moon, that fund the Artemis program, and the things that we need to do to achieve what we would say sustainable programs. We're thinking about programs that last not just decades, but even a generation. I would like to see, you know, a day when my children are my age and we have people living and working on the moon and, in fact, on Mars. So to achieve that, we're gonna need to have strong apolitical bipartisan support. We have worked for that day in and day out since the day I came to NASA. That was my commitment. And I look at what's happening in the House and the Senate, and I am confident that we have strong bipartisan support that will result in a sustainable program.
Thank you.
Hi, this is for Jim. Rachel Joy with Florida Today. Wondering if you could briefly kind of talk about the Falcon 9 engine issue that started with the GPS-3 mission when it had that last second abort, and how that played out in terms of engines being swapped out on GPS-3, Crew 1, and Sentinel-6, and how many ultimately are being swapped out across all 3 rockets.
So I'll address your question kind of big picture, but I would refer you, we're having a flight readiness review, and then we're going to have a press conference after that, and I would refer those questions to the press conference after the flight readiness review. But I will tell you, when we think about the commercial program itself,